Ready?
Justin, middle of the field, 45, 50. Green grass in front of him, leaving Lions in his wake.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes! Oscar!
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
61 yards! A Sunday stroll for Justin Fields.
Oh, wow!
And
Now, Bears Etc. with the voices of the Chicago Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
No way to sugarcoat an 0-3 start to the 2023 season, but what's done is done. Bears general manager Ryan Poles and head coach Matt Eberflus talk often that they are solutions-oriented, and that is exactly how the franchise wants to build near-term and long-term. Are the solutions somewhere in the fine print of this football team? We discuss and explore here in episode 19 the Bears Etc. podcast with Super Bowl winning Bear Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. Coming up each week after the game, our visit with Bears head coach Matt Eberflus coming up as well. Thanks to Dan Barilli, Jordan Tredup, and Katie Tuber, our producers. 41-10, the final from Arrowhead Stadium yesterday in Kansas City. Tom, we got the ride back. Got home about midnight last night and dug into the tape, and you had a full agenda today doing all sorts of things. And it's always fun to recap a win, but that has been the escapable quotient so far over the last 13 games dating back to last season. But what are you seeing, my friend? What are you seeing?
Well, you know, whether you're a player or a broadcaster, the first priority after the conclusion of a game is watching the tape. And you may have to watch it a couple times. But fortunately, nowadays in the NFL, they give you a couple different angles, so they give you an opportunity to see the details of the game. And it seems that's the word that has caught my attention through all the players and the coaches that met the media. Pay attention to details. And I think that's a key ingredient. And I think it can change the outcome of a play to the point where it may be a successful play for your opponent, but if you have the details better, it could be a negative play. And those are the things they have to clean up. And nobody's exempt from it. But when you watch the tape along with your teammates, whether it's a position group or just sitting around with a buddy watching the tape, you have to understand how you can be better at the details that's required from your specific position.
Well, Matt Eberflus met the media earlier on Monday and talked much about that. It is about the details. We'll hear it in the same conversation I had with him here in just a minute. How about your details? Give me some examples. We got some from players too. Roschon Johnson and T.J. Edwards talked today. We'll hear some clips. But what are some prominent things that stood out to you?
You know, defensively, making sure you don't overflow. Make sure you understand your responsibility in your area of concern, in your area of commitment. And if you have more than multiple guys in the same area that are trying to derail a play, only do your job. Don't think that you can overplay your position. Because the thing about offensive players, offensive receivers, running backs, they're so talented. If they know that you taken 1/2 step, 1/8 of a step off balance, they can take it back in the opposite direction and you may not be able to recover. So when you hear about details, Jeff, the way to stop a running play or pass play against your opponent is making sure your details are exact. Don't try to do too much. Only do what's required of you from the huddle called. Yeah, there's sometimes that you have to do something extraordinary and make a play, disengage from a blocker at the line of scrimmage and make a tackle for a loss like Justin Jones, flow like a linebacker and make an offensive line's block irrelevant and unmakeable. If you're a defensive back and you can anticipate the quarterback's eyes or a linebacker like Jack Sanborn and come up with an interception, those are the plays you need repeatedly. Now, as an offensive group, if you have a combination block with a couple of offensive linemen, you have to make sure that you only hit the defensive player that takes it up to that second level. You can't spend time connecting with each other because that makes the block less effective. And whether it's a quarterback read, a running back cut, or a tight end catch, it's just the little things that are going to make this team a lot better, a lot quicker. He's
a slippery devil in there, one of these elite quarterbacks. Mahomes is super poised in the pocket. He finds those zones and those areas of comfort to escape. But according to Pro Football Focus, 15 pressures by the Bears. I don't know how they accurately define from their perspective what a pressure is. It's different in every NFL front office as they go through the tape and through your own eyes. But that's another increase, Remember, we started week 1, it was a couple, then 11 last week, and if it is truly a 15 spot, they're not finishing with a sack, but are you feeling some encouragement from the front four? I know, again, it's hard when you give up 41 points, but I'm just trying to look at things for the future here.
Well, DeMarcus Walker, Roschon Green, Joniak Ngakoue, and Billings and Justin Jones. I expect those guys to be able to put pressure no matter which offensive lineman they're playing against. But I need advancements in the play of Zach Pickens or Dexter and the young guys that are getting meaningful playing time, even the continuous development of Dominique Robinson. If those are the types of guys that can develop and make plays, and then all of a sudden now they're getting a couple of extra reps because they are getting results out of their hard work, that's what we're all looking for game to game, week to week. And when you talk about pressures from game 1, 2, and 3, it's because of those guys are developing. They're developing laterally and they're developing vertically. And that's what's required nowadays out of defensive linemen because they play such a multiple option to offense that sometimes their island is a little bit bigger of a responsibility than maybe it was during my era.
I'm sticking out of the trenches, so let's go offensive line. I believe now it was the 12th different offensive line group dating back to last season, a starting group. And so Larry Borum got the start at left tackle, the right guard, Jatari Carter, once again. What did you think of those two gentlemen's performance?
So I think we got to stop talking about the narrative of who's playing and who's not playing. And the offensive linemen, along with Chris Morgan, the offensive line coach, they have to pay attention to the details of their exact assignments according to the play called, the down and distance, the field position. Because eventually these guys are going to gel together. They're going to work together. But if you can perfect your fundamentals and the minor details of your techniques, you're going to be good no matter who's playing. And I do think I see a more physical element of the running game, and I know Matt has talked about it. So if I could look at the running game from the eyes of the offensive line and running back, and I'm not going to count Justin because when I was looking at the tape of the game and I went back and looked at the stats of the other games, I'm taking Justin's carries out of it. I want to see a hard-fought physical performance from the offensive line, including the fullback, including the tight ends, in the way the running backs have the speed and ability to hit the hole. Because if they can hit the hole full speed at or a little bit beyond the line of scrimmage, they're a strong enough group of young men that they can get an extra 2.5 yards. And I'm not looking unrealistically, Jeff. I'm not saying every running play's got to be a touchdown. I'm looking for 4+ yards a carry. And if you can do that 35 times a game, you can win the game.
41 unanswered is tough to accept, obviously, but on a day when Miami scored 10 touchdowns, 70 points, and over 700 yards of offense against a bewildered Denver Bronco defense, anything is possible with offenses in the NFL these days. We'll pick up that conversation and many others as we break down the Broncos. But before we do that, let's step aside and hand it off to our interview with head coach Matt Eberflus. I don't think you'll watch the tape any differently if it were a 41-10 win. Right? You have to look at it and break it down the exact same way. So this is your process, and you're looking for the same nuggets that will build on the next opponent for your football team. So that's the weird thing about wins and losses. I know you've always taught me you look at it the same way.
Yeah, this is important to do that. Obviously we're facing some adversity right now, and I appeal to the guys to really focus on themselves, and focus on their detail at their position so they can play fast and physical. And that's what we want for each individual. And then I appealed to them for their position groups. I said, hey, when you go into your position room, do you guys like what you see in there? And they all nodded their head yes. And I said, well, that position group needs to play their best game this week. And how do you do that? You focus on the details at your position. And I was talking to the coaches, too, at the same time. It's about the coaches being able to coach, drill, rep, walk through team periods of that detail. And what I'm saying is that the details matter in this business. They make the big things happen. How you B block, a 3 technique, how you kick out, force, on the perimeter toss, how you stalk block on perimeter runs, how the quarterback carries out his fake, defensively, how we, use our gap discipline and our run defense. how we do our things in pass coverage, how we match the numbers and do it correctly and communicate, pre and post snap. So all those things matter, and we're just getting down to the details, and it matters in critical moments of the game. And I showed the guys a couple series of how it could change a little bit. For example, we did a good job of stopping them on defense on the first series, right? They end up pinning us down there. And, we did a good job of, Justin made a real athletic move out of there to be able to throw it to Claypool. I thought that was nice, and then, later in that drive or later in that particular quarter, there was a situation where we got to midfield. We were on the 36-yard line, I believe, and we got to do a good job of being able to punch that ball and keep that ball in that area of the field, because we don't want to take negative plays there, because those are scoring quad zone areas. We could have put the game to 7-3 at that point. But, so those are just the little details that we have to making sure that we're squared away with on at the player level, at the coaching level, and making sure we're doing that right.
Which prompts this question. So when you say in the position rooms, you ask the guys, you like what you see in there? And they all nod yes. And the coaches are telling you, hey, these guys are doing a great job. That's at practice, because you don't know anything until you play on Sunday. But at practice, are these details being dotted I's and crossing the T's that you're comfortable with? It's just not happening on Sunday yet? Is that what you're saying?
I just say we got to do it better, because all that matters is Sunday.
Yeah.
Right?
Obviously do you feel it at practice?
I do.
Okay.
I do. But again, the performance is what matters. Performance is what matters. We got to perform on Sunday, and that's what matters. Now, you have to see it on the practice field first, but now we have to take, the repetition that we've had in practice and then take it to the game. And then once we see that, it's going to be a good product on the field.
So I would assume you'd be much more alarmed. I mean, you don't feel good, obviously, 0-3, but you would be alarmed if you weren't seeing it at practice,
right? And
worried on Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, we're going through adversity right now, and I told the guys that we just have to lean on each other, and that's the most important part. And be determined. Have a focus and have a fight to your heart, and be determined to play your very best this week.
I saw a quote from DJ Moore. Some of the leaders are getting asked these questions, and he says, some things got to change, and they got to change fast. Do you feel urgency from your team?
Yes, no doubt. I like the look in their eye today. They're determined, and see a sense of urgency for them to get this done.
Does this team need a feel-good moment in a game that can spark a fire?
Yeah, I really do. I think we need that, and I think it's going to be coming down to play-by-play execution. Because in the NFL, typically it comes down to 6 plays. These games are close. A lot of the times, right? We've been in some close games. The first 2 games were pretty close, and certainly the Tampa Bay game was close. And we got to do a good job of those 6 plays that make a difference. But you never know when those are going to come. So your execution matters, play in and play out. Our guys are determined, and they're focused, and they have fighters' hearts. So I always see them with optimism in their play and how we're going about our business on the field.
There are so many things going on, with the different offensive line groups, the secondary injury situation. You don't make excuses, obviously, but that chemistry piece, will that still take some time?
Yeah, that's always takes time. Yeah. I think you build chemistry throughout the course of the year. I think that your chemistry, in the first part of the year is going to be way different at the end of the year. So we've played 3 games, and obviously our chemistry is going to get better and better and better as we go. We have 30-some new players on this football team, and it is a new football team, and that gel and that chemistry is going to continue to get better as we go. As long as we have the stamina to persevere through adversity, and we have to be able to do that as a group.
And how do you define stamina?
The ability to stay determined no matter what. And if you get set back a little bit, you're still determined just as much as you were when maybe you won 9 in a row. So it's important that we have that determination.
All right, let's talk about some individual guys. So Terrell Smith got a ton of playing time, 10 tackles on there. What did you see on tape that I know you like this player, University of Minnesota?
Yeah, really, really pleased with him. He's got long speed. He's big. I certainly like the way he tackled, in the game, and he's going to get some playing time, and he got some playing time yesterday, and that's good for us. And, to have those 2 young corners get playing time and get experience is only going to make us better in the long run.
All right, Tyree Stevenson, from what you said in your news conference, he's going to be okay.
Yeah, he's fine.
But,
he's fine.
The flag, Tom felt it should not have been a flag, but they did knock helmets. That's going to happen on some of these plays.
Sure.
Running back. It's funny, they don't they don't really flag the run. Remember, they were supposed to flag running backs if they lowered their heads into a defender.
Yeah.
That's I don't ever remember it happening.
Yeah, it happens once in a while, but I thought that was a good play by Tyreek. In terms of his determination and his want to. He did everything he could to keep him out of the end zone and did a nice job.
What can you count on right now in your mind? You close your eyes, you can count on you go to in a game just to get you through a hump.
Yeah, I would just say that we can count on our guys, being there and working, and I think that if we get our run game going, that's the one thing you can count on. And same thing on the run defense. The run defense is much improved. We're not getting the explosive runs as we did last year at this point, but our run average is still solid. And we just got to continue to build upon that because that's a great foundation for a football team. And then once we get, that going, then we're going to be ahead of the sticks. We're going to be, playing more pass downs on defense, and that's a great way to start. All
right, in our remaining moments here on Bears Etc., the Bears head coach, Matt Eberflus, let's take a look at the Denver Broncos. That's a stunning number, obviously. It happened. It happens rarely in this league, the 70, but with injured egos and all that aside, what should we expect from a team that just had 70 hung on them?
This is a 1 week proposition here in the NFL.
But it was 70.
I understand. But it's still to me, it's just 1 week at a time. We can't look at that one way or the other. We just got to look and see, hey, it's all about us and how we're going to go out there and do a great job to put ourselves in position to win the game.
Russell Wilson, 8th-rated quarterback in the league despite their winless season so far. Do you see a different player maybe than a year ago, or maybe you haven't gone that far into the tape just yet?
Yeah, I haven't gone that much far into it. I've been busy evaluating our tape from yesterday and trying to make the corrections. But, I see a little bit better in terms of his rhythm, his timing, getting the ball out. I do see that a little bit as I peeked at the tape. But, that's where he is.
All right, well, good luck this week in your preparation, and we will talk to you after next week's game.
All right,
Thank you.
You got it.
All right, Tom, what's your takeaway from that interview right there? Because I tried to pin him down on what he sees at practice, what he's seeing on game day, and how this squad actually feels about itself. Because at some point, like in that runaway second quarter, they turned the ball over twice. And a team learning how to win, can they overcome those obstacles that they create themselves or a defense creates by making a big play, or any of these other things that have happened over the course of the first 3 weeks of the season? And he feels no, they can. They are in, their mindset is good. And so he knows better than anybody. He's looking at him every day, and he's practicing him every day.
You know what I like about Matt? It's different than a lot of head coaches that I played for in my past, is that he pokes his head into every single position room out there, and he's got a message for them. And he talks about the details that go along with no matter or whatever position you play, and to start perfecting those details, those fundamentals, the techniques, the work ethic and work effort in practices, and they're going to pay dividends on game day. So I know Matt has his hand in a major way on defense right now, but he can't ignore the offense. So when you go out there, and let's exclude Justin again because he's kind of in a special category of himself. When you talk about the running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, and offensive line, every one of these guys individually they have to improve, but as a unit they have to improve. And again, it brings me back to the word details, because you can never forget about details in the course of a football season. And if you think, Jeff, in your 30 years now of broadcasting, have you ever seen a perfect game? No, they don't happen, Jeff. And so no matter if you win by 40 or you lose by 40, it's still about making sure that you go in there and you watch the tape with constructive eyes to make sure that you're looking at yourself and you're looking at your position and make sure they all get better, and then hold guys accountable for it.
Good news, Chicago. United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. Jeff and Tom here on the Bears Etc. podcast. All right, let's listen into some of the players. Roschon Johnson at the podium today. He speaks like a veteran, Tom. I'm impressed with him and always have been from the moment we met him. He gives a specific example here of a missed opportunity on one of his runs that we commented on the broadcast yesterday.
I remember it.
Had a wide zone play where I tripped and stumbled. I should have just stayed on my track and bounced it outside. Like something as simple as that. It ended up being a no-game play. I mean, I'm one broken tackle away from scoring. So literally stuff like that. That's all just a matter of me locking in on my details and just focusing on what I'm coached to do. I was coached to stay on my track, and I didn't do that. So something like that could, swing the whole momentum of a game and carry out a drive can turn into a 3-and-out, just like that.
It was the stumble. And if not, as he says, we're looking at a possible touchdown there.
Well, you got to take it two ways. I like the fact that he recognized what he should have done and will do next time, or what he possibly do next time. But I also commend him for his vision, because he knew what he was looking at. And for us, our advantage from 9 floors up, we probably have a better advantage of it visually. And then when you unfortunately see him stumble, because a lot of these guys, most guys in the NFL have a hard time going from 100% forward to a lateral step immediately. And sometimes your feet do get caught up on themselves. But look, man, I love Roschon. I like the way he plays. I like the effort he gives, his catching ability, blocking ability, and running toughness. But I love him. I don't see a rookie up there at the podium. I see a young man with a world of experience that's going to be one of the assets in this locker room. And if anybody thinks that they can't go to a running back for advice or look at, an example of hard work, that's as they say, that's my dog.
And you've got 3 of them. Okay. How QB1 is handling everything. Johnson on that topic as well.
I think he's been poised about it. I haven't really seen him change up or act different about it. I feel like he's going to work every day and has put his best foot forward. I mean, I know he gets a lot of heat and hate from a lot of different outlets, but what I've seen, I haven't seen him flinch in any sense. We're going to do our best to make sure he's supported and make sure he can go out and play ball. And
Justin's handling himself well with his teammates, and so that's a first step in another direction that we got to focus on here, because he keeps saying he's going to relish the idea that he's playing in the NFL. He's here, and he's just got to let it loose, and hopefully it all comes together sooner rather than later.
One thing about teammates is Roschon is there for outside the building, outside the meeting room support. He's not sitting in the quarterback meetings with Justin Fields telling him what to look for, how to look for it, and how to go about his business. He's got to let Justin go and prepare as quarterbacks do in their room. But when they're in the lunchroom, when they're in the weight room, when they're outside warming up pre-practice, maybe playing catch, that's when Roschon will get most of his opportunities to talk to Justin during the day. And through all my years as an NFL player, even though one of my best buddies was Mike Tomczak, the quarterback, I didn't talk to him until the end of the day. So, and it's the same thing with running backs and quarterbacks, but the support that Roschon can give Justin is going, look, man, we believe in you. We have a tremendous amount of faith, and you can be one of the reasons how we get this thing. And when we get this thing turned around, you can be a major reason why. So it's the voice of support that's really important.
For all your journeys ahead, go with a partner who's been on your team from the beginning. The one members and communities have trusted for over 85 years. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, always standing by you, with you, for you, through it all. And that leads me to another Roschon Johnson soundbite. It's on the players here. It's the game plan is provided. It's discussed. They're tutored on fundamentals and techniques. They execute plays in practice. They do their 7-on-7s, their one-on-ones, their position group drills, their team drills, and then they go to work on Sunday. But it's on these players to carry it through.
It starts with the players. I mean, regardless of what the coaches say, regardless of how we take it, I think our main thing is to address the mistakes within us. So that's being real with ourselves in each position group and holding each other accountable, regardless of what anybody else says first. I feel like that's how you ultimately grow and ultimately see changing results, when you know the person that's actually playing on next side you is holding you to a higher standard than anybody else. So I think that's the start.
Listen, Jay Hilgenberg used to have one of the greatest quotes of all time as when we are active players. And he used to look at me and said, if it's so easy, the coaches would be doing it. And that's not the case. And I'm glad Roschon talked about the players' responsibility, because it is about the players. The coaches can give you all the advice and all the changes in the corrections you can possibly use in the meetings around the field. But once you get there on game day, it's about you. And it's like Dick Stanfield the night before meetings. You know, we used to have our final meeting, 10 or 15 minutes, just something really quick. And he goes, guys, it's you got to just lay it out there. I can't sit here and tell you any last-minute corrections. We're not changing anything. It's about you guys just going out there and playing. So, and I think that's basically what Roschon is saying. It's about the players living up to the expectations that Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, Matt Eberflus, George McCaskey, that they have in this group of young men.
Linebacker TJ Edwards feeling the same way you do.
The biggest thing with that is that's policed by the team, in my opinion, by the guys in that locker room. It's one of those to where, you know, when we're out there playing, we got to have that that same mindset, you know, that we're all on the same page and things like that. I think the messaging's been great. But at the end of the day, you know, the guys in that locker room are the ones that got to go out there and got to go do it on Sundays. And so I think internally we've been having really good conversations just in terms of where we're at and where we want to be. And, you know, because we've seen it, man. We've seen it all through camp. We saw it, you know, moments of it. You know, we've seen what this thing can look like. So there's, again, I think that optimism is big time. Now it's just understanding that there needs to be a sense of urgency to make it happen on Sunday because we gotta turn this around for sure.
TJ, how do you and just the rest of your defensive teammates find consistent ways to create pressure? Because obviously it hasn't been there through 3 games, but how can you kind of manufacture to find that?
Yeah, I think that goes kind of, you know, both ways. I think it's one of those to where we hold up in the back end to give our D-line time to get there, and also just mixing up looks so that the quarterback kind of has to, you know, get through his progressions a little bit quicker, and also bringing guys to where we can do that. And I think, again, something that we were talking about a lot was disguising last week. And again, I thought we had times where we could make plays, and maybe we were just off on our detail a little bit in terms of execution, and it didn't happen. But those things come, in my opinion, when the front end and back end's, you know, working together. And I'm excited to get to that for sure.
And so it's going to take players like Roschon, like TJ Edwards, like starting linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, Cody Whitehair at center, all these veterans to help carry these younger guys forward here. And really, as Edwards said, they police themselves. And that's how it ultimately – the locker room does have to police itself.
Oh, no doubt. You know, TJ Edwards is a unique guy, you know, because I'm just getting to learn more about him when I listen to him at the podium and I watch him play. He's credited with 17 total tackles, 6 solo tackles. But when I go and watch TJ play, I see a play that he oversteps his boundaries, okay? He just flows a little bit too fast and a little bit too wide, and the running back cuts up inside of him, and it's a positive play where he's got to come up and get support from the defensive back. Then the very next play, I see him play it perfectly. He flows quickly. It reminds me of Lance Briggs. He flows quickly, puts the offensive lineman in an unblockable position. He's able to skirt through the line of scrimmage and make a tackle for no gain. So when you listen to a guy like TJ Edwards with the experiences that he's had in the NFL, he knows how to correct his own mistakes. And I think eventually – again, another thing like Dick Stanfield said, look, and I can coach you so much, but eventually you have to start coaching yourself. And when you start coaching yourself, that's when you're going to become a better player. And I think TJ has the experience after looking at the film that he has the ability and the intelligence to coach himself.
We're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears. Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer. Looks like the injury situation may not be as dire it may have looked during the game. Tyreek Stevenson, it looks like it was a neck injury of some sort, but he's expected to be okay. That's good news. Don't know about Jalen Johnson. Tremaine Edmonds, same thing. He should be okay. So hopefully they got out of that game okay. More reps for the young guys in the secondary, like Terrell Smith. We touched on him with Coach. Really impressive day with his physicality. I know it's a guy that John Hoke really likes at corner, and so does Flus. So they got some young guys that are getting, again, a second year in a row with young guys in the secondary getting a lot of reps.
Well, you know, one thing about Tyreek Stevenson, if you go back and you look at that play on tape, tell the cameraman to stand up and get his camera off the ground, because after he made the hit, Jeff, I don't think it's a collision with the player. I think it's his head hitting the camera behind him. And
wow,
you go back and you look at it. And to me, for a cameraman to be laying there at the pylon with this camera on the ground, you know, that can hurt a player as much as anything. So go take a look at that, because that's where I think when Matt Eberflus said it was his neck, not necessarily his head, when you look at him hit his head on the camera, the first thing he does is reach for the left side of his neck, and that's what brought my attention to it.
Oh, wow, that's that would be bad. That would be a big discussion with the NFL.
I pay attention to everything.
Yes, you do. Nothing gets by you.
From sideline to sideline.
No, that's why I always got to be on my P's and Q's. Nothing gets by you. You just notice everything.
Well, you wouldn't have left your phone. You wouldn't have left your phone in the bathroom if you pay attention to everything.
I'm 0 for the pot. Yeah, I'm 0 for 2 on road trips this year with the phone.
Man.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a story for another day. Vizzy Hard Seltzer, the official hard seltzer of the Chicago Bears. All right, let's look at a couple of more fine details of this matchup. Were there things that you see that Matt Eberflus is discussing that he sees that give you hope that this fix is coming sooner rather than later?
So the big word this week is details, and I think that's a week-to-week commitment responsibility of all players to pay attention to the details of their job and how they can improve. To me, the key word this week and coming off of this week is physical, because to me, when you talk about the running game and you talk about what this offensive line can offer you, and especially this week playing at home and against the Denver Broncos and being able to be in control of volume snap count, their explosiveness at the point of attack should be like any other week so far this year. And when you have the running style of Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson and the rest of the running backs, include D'Onta Foreman, even though he's been inactive the last couple of weeks, I think you can bring a physical element to this game from start to finish that recaptures the attention of the crowd. And that's a key ingredient here. You cannot go out there and play a passive style of football and ask for your crowd support. So if you go out there and you have that determined running game that runs the ball 35 to 40 times a game, and then switch it over to the other side of the ball. Now the defensive front seven, when they have an opportunity to make a tackle against the running back or even hit the quarterback, they do it with a physical presence that everybody reminds it and that brings the crowd out of their seats. When Coach Hightower devises the scheme of the special teams are going to have to face this week, even though there hasn't been a kickoff return in the last 2 weeks, it's got to be with that physical presence. When they have a chance to tackle a kick returner or a punt returner, protect the line of scrimmage when they're punting the ball, so on and so forth, they have to do it as physically as they possibly can. So that's kind of my key phrase word for this whole week is you have to get the crowd with that physical element so they're on your side immediately. Now it brings it back to what Soldier Field can be and should be all about. And the crowd will reward you with all kinds of cheers if somebody somehow shows that physical style. And is it Roschon Johnson lowering his shoulder and running over a linebacker to get to the third level? Is it Khalil? Is it Cole Kmet getting the ball in his hands and being able to see the tackler that's coming at him and being able to lower his shoulder and run him over? Who is going to be that guy that's going to get the crowd involved most immediately? And then it's got to continue for 4 quarters. I don't want to hear about one drive first quarter. I want to hear about 4 quarters of physical style of Chicago Bear football.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. I mean, I was kind of hoping that was going to be the case in Kansas City, and but at home, don't lose the crowd. You got to keep them in it because they're hungry right now, and they were for the opener when they were all jacked up at the beginning, and it didn't work out that way at the end. But they're right there. The good news is the opponents. You know, Green Bay comes in the first week. They go and lose week 2. Tampa, we're going to find out how they respond after playing the Bears, and Kansas City thereafter. I'm watching that this year because Nick Allegretti, local guy, he plays for the Chiefs, and he's a special teams guy and a backup offensive lineman at the moment. But his observations were quoted in the paper. The Bears did play a very physical game, and they played through the whole 60 minutes. They gave top effort. It just didn't work out in the win column. And so that's what I want to hear and see.
Yeah, well, immediately after the game when we had the chance to talk to Matt Eberflus, that was the thing that caught my eye. I don't care what they were down by. The guys were still playing hard. They were still running to the football. They were still delivering those hits. But that's why I said just a moment ago, it can't be first quarter or fourth quarter. It's got to be four quarters.
Take a chance. Download the BetRivers app today. Our look at Denver. We'll preview it in Thursday's podcast, but a little sneak peek. Obviously, I don't know what to expect. Sean Payton has got to be out of his mind, and those players, they were humbled. And so that was a complete butt kicking. And what should we expect? What is it? I mean, you've never experienced anything like that. So I don't even know. I mean, who has? I mean,
be very careful.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you be very careful. You know, they always say a wounded animal is at its most dangerous. And so what they're going to hear from the Denver press, what they're going to hear when they go to restaurants or go out to eat, or when you go back and somebody you or Dan sent me a thing of Garrett Bowles sitting in his locker room as disgusted as you can possibly see a player immediately following game, head in his hands and just saying how depressing it is. But if you have a guy like Sean Payton who's been around the league for a while, I think it's a great opportunity to challenge your team to do better, be better, play better. Just like we're talking about the Bears being more physical, that's what you would expect from Denver, but you can't let Denver have it. You can't let them have any type of what was that? You asked Matt Eberflus a question about an igniting moment or a fire moment.
Do they need one to get them started?
Yes. And I don't give them that. Don't give them that opportunity to get excited about anything. Beat them by 60 and let them go back to Denver and worry about their own problems and allow the Bears to build on the solutions they're trying to create.
Denver opened the season 2 close losses to the Raiders and Commanders at home. They have some good talent on that team, some leftovers from a pretty good defense on all-pro corner and Patrick Surtain. Justin Simmons at safety. They've added Zach Allen, a big run stopper on defense. 2 veteran edge rushers, Randy Gregory and Frank Clark, but that speed from Miami, it was just an avalanche of points. Offensively, of course, Russell Wilson. Coach touched on it a little bit. He is right now top 10 in the league in quarterback rating. Cortland Sutton on the outside. So those are some of the key factors. Marvin Mims has had a really good start as a rookie and as a dangerous return man. Something to watch.
Yeah, but you know the key element there is to make Russell Wilson look slow, old, and small. And you can do that by having your defensive lineman get some penetration when he wants to throw the ball, rush with your hands up. You'll get 4 or 5 block passes. Don't allow Russell Wilson to get outside the pocket and scramble and do an open throwing lane. And so if you can do that, I think you can slow down a certain percentage of their offense and what Sean Payton likes to do.
Right now, when you spend over $2,999 at Steinhafels, you'll score a $100 Bears Pro Shop gift card. Visit any one of their 4 Chicagoland locations in Vernon Hills, Crystal Lake, Downers Grove, and Harwood Heights, or shop online at steinhafels.com. Thursday, after this early week doldrums, after another lot, we'll be in a much better mood looking at the Denver Broncos, Tommy. We'll be ready to rock.
But I think like Eberflus, you got to stay positive. You got to stay your mood up, because the last thing players want to do is see a head coach with his head hanging down and searching for answers. Some of the times we got yelled at and criticized the most was after we won a game. When we lost some games, whether it's George Allen, Don Shula, Mike Ditka, Dan Devine, whomever, Gordy Gillespie, who I'm ever played for, some of the, they were the most positive after a loss, because they're going to make corrections through all their life experience in football.
All right, back with you on Thursday with our podcast. Also, Thursday night, 6 o'clock on ESPN 1000, Bears Weekly. We'll discuss a lot in detail. The Denver Broncos hope to get a player interview as well. And that'll do it for us. For Tom Thayer, head coach Matt Eberflus, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening to Bears Etc. Bear down, everybody. We'll talk to you later in the week. Thanks for listening.